Hey there. So something really interesting happened this morning, and I just kind of wanted to share it because I find it kind of hilarious. I think the way you raise children when you are over 30, probably even 35, is very different than when you have your children very young, either as a teenager or in your 20s. Your patience level is, you have a lot more patience, number one, but you also, it's like you can kind of like foresee things in the future because of already having kids, but also just of dealing with life, right? And so you handle children, or you just handle situations different every time you go through something, right? If you learn and you grow, heal and evolve, right, you will handle things differently. I mean, you will, right? But anyway, so this morning, when I woke up and I was I was doing some chores, right? And I'm actually in the process of moving houses and stuff like that. And my friends' kids, the ones I'm always posting, they're so cute. They know that I'm moving, and so they keep trying to, they tell me that they're, basically like they don't want me to move. So, months and months and months ago, I started putting that in their ear so that they would get used to the idea that me, Nina, that's my name, they call me Nina, is not going to stay. Nina has to go, and Nina will move, and they're going to help, right? This is to help make the transition not traumatic. We don't need any traumatic. I said they're going to help me move, and they can be hands-on, and they can always FaceTime and stuff like that, right? Because as an adult, like if you deal with issues, or if you've dealt with other adults who have issues and traumatic experiences, it's like the whole goal when you're dealing with children is like not to create anything traumatic, right? Or any kind of crazy. You only want to create good memories, positive memories. That's how I look at it, right? Anyway, so that's what I've been doing, trying to get them prepared. But anyway, I woke up, and before I could sneak out of the house, the kids came upstairs, and they were like, "What are you doing, Nina?" And this was the younger one, the youngest one. And I said, "Oh, Nina's just, packing a few things, just doing one load." And he likes to snuggle. He likes to snuggle in bed for a minute. And I just said, "Oh, Nina's already dressed and getting going. I can't snuggle today." Like I was trying to, like, no. I said, Nina will be back. I was just trying to kind of move it along. But his brother came in and came in on the conversation. And he heard and he saw it, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going to take one load, and then I'm just going to go work. Don't worry, I'll be back. Today is not we're not, Nina's coming home. I still have many nights with you guys." Like I have to do that every day. Because every day, the youngest one asked me if I'm coming home before dark and if I'm still coming. Anyway, it's very, very cute. Anyway, it's children, right? So, but the oldest one today, he said to me, he said, "Well, now this is all before 7 o'clock this morning, okay? Because, it's summertime down here, so. Anyway, so he said to me, just like this, he goes, "Well," because, he has glasses. And he's a little adult, by the way. He's the adult. He acts like a little adult. But he uses big words and everything. But anyway, he goes, "Well, I decided that I'm not going to help you move." In his little kid accent, I can't do it. But he said, "I'm not going to help you move." Very decidedly. And I looked at him and I said, "What? Why?" And he says, "Because I don't want you to move." No, he said, yeah, he said, "Because I don't want you to move." He said, "I don't want you to move." And I said, "Oh, so you think that not helping me move is going to stop me from moving?" and he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, guess what? Nina's still going to move, okay? And that's not going to stop me from moving." And I said, and then here's where life experiences like kicked in, and all of a sudden I started thinking to myself, like, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and nip this in the bud right here, right? I said to him, I said, "Do you know what that's called? What you're doing right now?" And he said, "No." I said, "That's called being manipulative. That's being manipulative. And he looked at me like what? Like, okay, that word he didn't get. I said, yeah, you're trying to manipulate the outcome. Or like my mom said today earlier, obstruction of justice. I said, what I mean by that is, you're going to try to stop me by doing something like that, right? Thinking that it's going to change the outcome. And he said, okay, well, he said, I'm still not going to help you. That's what he said. He said, I'm still not going to help you. And I said, okay, well, I said, it's still not going to work. And he said, well, maybe it will slow you down. Now, mind you, he's like, what, 9? No, 8. I think he's 8. Anyway, and I said to him, I said, okay, so what you're doing is, I said, you know what adults think about something like this? Adults think that this is controlling. This is kind of controlling. It's best for you to always just share your emotions and your feelings and how you feel. But then you have to let the other people, whoever it is, me or whoever you're talking to, you have to let them deal with their own feelings after you share yours. When you share your real feelings, and that's all you can do, you have to let it go. Because you can't control anybody else. You can't stop anybody else from doing whatever it is they really want to do. All you can do is be honest and open and share your feelings. And he was like this. He started like, put a little pout face. Well, I don't want you to move. I don't want you to go. I'm going to miss you. And so, of course, I gave him a hug and everything. And I said, it's okay. It's okay. And then I said, you know, the thing about life is all about change. Life is all about growing and adapting and changing and, learning and being better. But life is about change. And so I said, you're going to have to get used to that because you got a lot of life to live, And so I said, you know what? So then I was like picking up my stuff and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put on some positive affirmations. And I did this on YouTube. I typed in like kid affirmations about change. Let me put that on. And I was like, y'all sit here and watch this. And Nina's going to see you guys later. And I love you. And I'll be back. Don't worry. And you will help me move. Okay? Because it's just part of changing. And we have to accept change. Right? But anyway, this has been kind of an ongoing conversation for months now as I started preparing them mentally. But this part of it right here, it's like I didn't even handle my own children this way. And while I hope that I did a good job, but I could have done it without my mother, because losing my husband when I lost my first husband, that was a hot mess. I was a hot mess. I was less patient, and I was definitely a little bit more triggered or whatever because of being sad or whatever. But I hope that I still gave them a good enough example. But now, of course, I see things so differently, and it's like I am hoping to create, whoever is in front of me, whoever's children are in front of me. It doesn't matter whether they be mine, my friends, my ex's grandbaby. She has her grandmother, so I cannot take credit or glory for that. I don't like to take their glory, I should say. So I'm just Nina to her. But anyway, when I talk to them or whatever, like in general, when I'm dealing with children, I'm thinking now I'm thinking to myself, like, the less narcissist and the less controlling people in general that we can like produce and spit out, that are a little bit more knowledgeable would be so great, right? It'll be just so great, right? And anyway, it got me really thinking just about adults in general and some of the experiences that I've had over the past few years with some of the, relationships or whatever that I've had, or interactions with men, that I've had, that I've been sharing and talking a lot about on this channel. Okay, and just really talking about being open and honest. And here's the thing. As soon as he kind of broke down and said what he wanted, what did I do? My natural response was to hug him and to, offer comfort and, love. And because real, true, open, honest feelings, raw feelings, whatever they are, it should evoke an honest response from somebody at least who loves you. If the person that you're dealing with actually loves you and they're not controlling, manipulative themselves, right? It should evoke a strong feeling of whatever from them. So if in other words, when you love somebody genuinely, right, and you don't have ulterior motives, you don't have any hidden agendas, you're not wearing a mask or anything like that, and someone shares with you their feelings or their emotions, if there's love there, naturally they're going to respond in that loving way, because if they're hurt, you're hurt, right? Because that's just how love works. Nobody wants to see anybody hurt, right? So, and also learning and understanding that feelings and emotions of this party or that, or me and myself or the other party, they belong to each other. Mine belong to mine, his belong to his, and respecting the process of moving through those feelings and understanding I don't have to carry the baggage or the guilt of his sadness, right? Because it's like, for example, giving him the courage and the encouragement and the tools to be able to move through his feelings of or emotions of missing somebody or lack of control or whatever, right, is only going to help him to prepare him for life, right? And on my end, me not carrying the guilt and stunting my life or stopping or even holding back or pushing off also, right, because I'm trying to carry his feelings and emotions, is also healthy, because change is inevitable. There is literally nothing you can do about change. Things change. If you're not changing, you are not growing, and you might even be 6 feet under. I would be questioning if you're alive, okay? Because you should be feeling emotions, or you're 6 feet under, or you should be changing and growing and healing and things like that. If not, you got to think about that. You have to think about why, okay? So anyway, it got me thinking about that, because in relationships and you know, because I had such a long, you know, I was with my late husband for 17 years of my life, and then nobody for a period of time, 5 years or so, and then my second husband for like 6 years, right? I really haven't been out on a dating scene or whatever. I've only ever, you know, seen my experience that I've had or that my parents had, and brief little, you know, things, you know, when you're younger, or, you know, interactions, or my friends, things that my friends have gone through, you know, and then of course I've read a million books because I'm a book reader. But it's like so these last few years, just dealing with different interaction with different types of men, and they were basically, the last 3 were all avoidant, okay, avoidant styled, and I say dealing with them, I don't mean full-blown relationships, okay? It was just, you know, whatever, interactions and stuff, right? It's like I realized when you are an avoidant style, and I mean a severe avoidant, I don't mean someone who just a little bit of avoiding, or you have any type of trauma, or if you have any type of, if you have any issues, especially if you have any mommy issues, or if you have serious trauma, serious traumatic issues, serious mommy issues, or whatever, right? Abandonment issues, things like that. The way that the behavior from that individual, the way their behavior looks to somebody like me who is, okay, I'm not perfect, but I'm not an anxious attachment style, but I'm not an avoidant attachment style. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely like, I guess what they call secure attachment. I only become anxious if I have a reason to be, aka like somebody dying, okay, because I've already experienced that, or like, you know, just a reason to be, right? If you try to put me in that place, right, to get me that way, but I'm not really like that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I had both my parents. I don't have those type of serious wounding, okay? Anyway, the behavior from avoidant or severe avoidantly attached men, and men that have had that kind of thing, who don't like to necessarily show their emotion, even though they have strong emotions, even though they have very deep emotions, right? They might have some deep emotions, but they don't like to show them. So it's like they look like stoic on the outside, or like that duck above the lake, but underneath they're flapping like this, right? But they don't want to say anything. The behavior looks so erratic to me, and it looks so strange, and it does cause very mixed signals, and it does cause confusion. Eventually, I'm the type of person that just like, I don't deal with confusion. I can't deal with confusion. Like, I'm literally like, because I don't come by that, it's very hard for me to sit here and constantly decipher, figure out, decode. You know, it's like I'm smart, but I just can't. In a relationship, I tend to be actually more in an actual love relationship. Now, I'm not talking about work relationship. I'm not talking about my goals or my when I'm going after something, or, because I do have a different side of me when it comes to work mode and stuff like that, or even when I'm in create mode, I'm talking about like in a loving relationship. I'm very free loving, free giving, free, giving freely of love. I try to, operate in agape love for sure. I try to operate in, just in nothing but real, pure intentions and everything. And I do. Okay. And so, but the actions that I sometimes see are very hard to understand. It's basically what I described, okay, with my friend's little boy today. It's like, I don't like the outcome that's happening here, so let me, this is on an adult level, let me, throw up some mind games, or, just try to control, everything that you do, or just try to control even the way that you see me. So it's like, I'm going to put up a mask, or I'm going to fake. I'm not going to show that I have real emotions here. I'm not going to show that I care. I'm not going to show that I'm falling deep in love. I'm not going to show that I am being moved or motivated, or I'm having, I'm not going to show any of that. I'm going to act like nothing. I'm going to act, detached or whatever. And however that comes off, but I might do little things to try to control the outcome of whatever it is you're doing, so that I don't lose you. But I don't want you to see me in my true emotions and me falling apart or being upset at whatever. Again, that's controlling. So I talk a lot about controlling people, right? And how controlling people, how they act in relationships and stuff, and what's toxic. But this is also a form of toxic, and it's also very subtle, right? Because whenever you try to control how somebody else sees you, it means you don't like who you are, or you have a severe issue going on where you don't feel safe and you don't feel safe in being vulnerable and just showing and sharing your real true emotions. So let me give you an example. Like I have mentioned before, my late husband, okay, when we had broke up and he found out that I had actually met somebody else and I moved up to Georgia from Florida briefly for like one day. Anyway, when he found out, okay, he was already, after 4 months, he was already on the brink of trying to, he wanted me back. But I hightailed it out. I was like, I'm not dealing with him. And I did. I was basically running from my feelings and emotions. Though I did meet somebody. My mom did try to tell me, Mel, you're running from Travis. You're running from your emotions. And I didn't want to hear it because I was like, I met somebody new. And Travis had done some things and I was done with it. I was just mad at him and stuff. So anyway, when he found out, that's when he went into straight, I'm going to go get my chick. I'm going to get my girl back, right? And he went to my parents' house. I mean, he was on his knees. He did all. I'm not saying to lose your dignity or anything like that, but he was not afraid to show his emotion. He was not afraid to be the squeaky wheel and to go get what he wanted, okay, and who he wanted. And he literally drove up to Georgia, took me by the hand, put me in the car, and was like, you're coming home with me, and it was all emotion, right? But he had no problem doing that. As soon as he saw, it was like I needed to defend my territory, right? And then, of course, we got engaged from there. But nonetheless, I realized because after we got married, there were several times afterward that he broke down and said some things to me like, I don't know how I got you. I feel so lucky. I don't know, sometimes I think it's like not real that I got you. And I'm like, what? I don't know how I got you. Because he was very sweet. He was so sweet and loving to me. I was like, no, of course. And he's like, I don't, he's like, I feel like he always called himself, he always said Beauty and the Beast. He called himself the Beast, anyway, or Pinky in the Brain. I was the brain. I don't know why. I don't know where this came from. But anyway, we managed to somehow get married. And, because he was the baby of the family. And so he was the squeaky wheel, like, so to speak. He would complain or whatever if he just didn't get loving and hugged. He was that way. So it wasn't, his lack of confidence or certain things or whatever, or self-esteem, didn't get in the way from getting me, basically, right? But I realized that all of some of the things that I have uncovered as I have gone through this journey and kind of looked back and just kind of did a lot of self-reflection and things like that, with avoidant attachment styles and things like that, like the behavior is so odd to someone like me who is like, it's like something as simple as like, if I'm offering you an apple, this apple is not poisonous. This apple is exactly what you see. It's an apple. Okay? This is not, I'm not the, whoever, in Red Riding Hood or whatever, that witch or whatever, it's like, but when you've wounded, when you're dealing with somebody who's wounded, it's like they just can't trust you. It's like they're like, are you really giving me an apple? Why would you be so nice to me? I'm really hungry, but I'm not gonna show that I'm hungry because I don't want you to think that I really need to eat this apple because, you know, you might see me as weak, and I don't want you to see me as weak. And I'm not gonna, you know, come up with all kinds of reasons, you know, because I don't believe that that apple is actually, I don't know. Is it really safe? You know what? No, I'm not hungry. I don't need that apple. But my work partner or my friend, he's hungry. Why don't you leave it for him? And then as soon as I'm gone, it's like, oh, let me check out this apple. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to examine it. Let me just see if there's any holes in it and all this, you know, like maybe it's safe. Do I think it's safe or whatever? And then I might eat it, right? Weird, right? To someone like me, all of that mind control, masking, not showing your real emotions, not just saying what's on your mind, not being true to yourself, holding back whatever it is you really want to say, being slow on purpose, you know, trying to slow down the pace because maybe you got stuff you got to do, you got to take care of because you haven't, you know, maybe been honest with where you are in your journey of life, okay, and things that you got to, and you don't want me to know, okay, about your baby mama and whatever, you got a lot, whatever, secret baby mamas, whatever, okay, all of that. So I'm going to slow down. I'm going to slow down the relationship. I'm going to act like I don't love you. Or I'm going to act like this. Or, you know, I've got some secret addictions, or I have, you know, secret mental health issues. And I don't want you to know any of these things. So I'm going to pretend and do one thing or whatever, but I'm going to secretly or I'm going to control you, right? Dragging your feet. I mean, even so much as like, okay, break up, and then as soon as you see me with somebody else or even talking to somebody else, it's like all of a sudden I'm coming back and I'm going to still mask that whatever, XYZ, all this stuff, but it's like, I love you. It's like, I can't be with you, but I do love you, but nobody else can love you, nobody else can have you. I might not be ready for you, but I'm still not going to let you move on, right? But and it's like they'll come back into your life and try to be like, no, blah blah blah, all this stuff and all this, and it's like, what? And then even if we, you know, you get together, maybe you even have a ceremony or whatever, and then it's like you uncover, it's like everything blows up, right? Because the truth will always come out. I mean, the truth always comes out. It's like, but prior to all of that, right? The inconsistency that you might see, okay, these are type of what I consider to be kind of like red flags or whatever, like inconsistency and dragging their feet and like creating problems just so they can try to fix it to look like the hero, or mind games, or, you know, trying to control the outlook or the outcome, or trying to control, you know, what you're doing, but without looking like they're being controlling, but they really are, or trying to control how you see them. It's like none of that's gonna work. None of that creates a stable, strong foundation. None of that. And the reason why is because it's built on dishonesty. All of that, bottom line, whether it was ill-intentioned or ill-willed or not, is built on, it's all dishonest. And whenever a person in a relationship, especially if you're trying to build a strong relationship, a long-lasting one, whenever a person puts forth any type of dishonest behavior or anything like that, is bound to break and fall. There's going to be pitfalls. Because somebody like me who's going to look at, you know, anybody who is dragging their feet or being inconsistent or masking or not really sharing their true feelings, being afraid or holding back or, you know, shuffling their feet or whatever, someone like me, especially somebody like me, when here in this area that I live in, I get hit on every day. I'm not saying that, you know, you know, I'm not saying that I actually even deal with all of the options that might come before me, because I certainly do not. But also, truthfully, when you are a halfway decent looking woman, you know, again, I'm not trying to put myself like whatever, right? I'm not trying to say that, whatever. But my whole entire life, I've gotten attention from white, black, Chinese, and everything in between. And that's because I'm biracial. And it's just what it is. I've had white men. So when you're that kind of a person and you're used to dealing with a lot of attention, right? It's not that I obviously know how to deal with it and handle it, because I know I can't be with every man out there. I don't want to be with every man out there. They don't all offer what I want, for sure. But beyond that, I got other things to do. I only want one person, right? I've never been the type that wants multiple men or try to deal. I can't do that. It's too hard. Like, I understand at times in your life where you are dating, or you're not actually, tied down to any one particular person, and you might be talking to a few at one time. Talking, I mean, not giving your heart to, not, laying down, doing all that. No, I'm talking about just, entertaining, talking on the phone, whatever, right? The point is, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, for me personally, like, when it comes to being in a relationship, I can't handle more than one. Okay, because I know what I'm going to do for the one, right? I'm going to work real hard at making sure that one is taken care of in every way, shape, and possible that I can do it, right? But I cannot do that for another, and nor do I want my brain being occupied with more than one. I have other things I like to do in life. I just like to secure love, right? And know that I can go off to work or do my whatever goals I have, my makeup, my job, my gigs, whatever it is that I'm doing. I want to be able to do that freely and not be worried about over here, whether or not this person is, or all of my options that I might have. No, like, that's weird. I mean, I'm a female too. I'm not a man, and I'm not a whore. Like, I'm not a man whore. And I also don't have the situation that men have. I don't have the situation that men have. So for me, this situation is built on commitment, love, relationship, being married, stuff like that. Okay, so it's like, but I can't do that more than one, right? That's just me. I'm speaking for just me. Okay, so I know other women have other outlooks, okay, but also on top of the fact that being spiritually minded and loving God and knowing that I have a relationship with God, He doesn't want any woman to be out there just spreading themselves, right? Okay, so the point is that what I'm saying is that someone like me who is secure, right? I see all those signs of symptoms of something, lack of confidence, or I see them as something is wrong, right? Or maybe playing games or not being serious or whatever. And it's like, for me, it's like, I'm going to keep my options open until I know, okay, it's time to go ahead and close my options. Because once I'm with somebody and he has made it clear to me how he feels about me, what he wants out of the relationship, and I know this part also takes time. I know it takes time, but honestly and truthfully, once you're an adult, and my dad used to say this to me, but I also can see why. Once you're an adult, and especially once you've had a relationship, right? Honestly, you start to know, within 3 months, you really do start to know whether or not the person in front of you is really a viable option for you. And you might definitely still you might have feelings for them. It's very easy and common to develop strong feelings within 3 months, especially if God has placed that person in your life or on your path, right? If God has done that, okay, AKA if Cupid has shot his arrow, okay? I mean, that's just what it is, right? Like, it's not hard. But when you try to hide that and prolong the relationship and stretch it out, or do whatever you need to do to clean up the stuff you need to clean up so that you can actually have a relationship. Okay, so what does that mean? If you've got, excess issues to take care of, like you're not really single, okay? And you've got to kick somebody out of your house, get rid of somebody, or whatever, close a relationship. See, in other words, opening one door up before the other door is closed, right? It's like, no, that's not going to work. You got to close the doors behind you so that you can actually open up this door all the way, right? So, but it's like, I don't want anybody to know that this door is still open. I'm still working on this and this and this or whatever. So you're going to do all these mind games, all of this, just stuff, right? I look at that as no matter what it is, whether it is like, being inconsistent or, calling once a week or calling every 2 weeks or calling once a month or going 3 months or 4 months and then checking it. Weird stuff like that. I look at that as, okay, you just some acquaintance. You're an acquaintance. You're certainly not anybody I'm going to hold space for or serious space. Like, I'm definitely going to, continue to look at myself as single, okay? And so when you do find somebody who's like, oh, wow, okay, there's real potential here. There's strong feelings here. And especially when you meet somebody, what I consider to be normal, or normal meaning like easily expresses themselves, easily says whatever's on their mind, can easily say, without feeling some sort of way on the inside and feel like he's going to break down, and just easily say things like, I want a hug, or, can I get a kiss, or I miss you, what are you doing right now, can I see you, and staying in constant communication or whatever, just staying in that. Why? Because when two people when two people truly love each other, and if the goal is marriage, the Bible says the two would become one flesh. So you tell me, how does becoming one flesh look like leading two different lives? If you're supposed to be becoming one flesh, if that's what the actual goal is becoming one flesh, why is there any separation? Why would there be a lack of communication, a lack of honesty, all kinds of space in between, allowing room for others to get in, to leave their mark or try to shoot their shot? Especially if you have someone who's attractive, especially when you have someone who generates attraction wherever she goes. Like if you know that you have somebody who's pretty or good looking, whatever, if you're attracted to them, probably somebody else is too, right? So it's like, you would think that if you really are genuine, if you have good genuine interest towards that person, then to me, the normal thing to do is to share your feelings, share your expressions, be open, not try to create any kind of weird stuff, right? Not try to control the outcome, because that's what it is. It's almost like you want the outcome to be favorable for you so bad that you do these other things. But see, that's all wrong, because you're supposed to go with the flow. You're supposed to just allow a person to be themselves, so that, and you can respond naturally, so you can really see and make sure that there is a real chemistry, right? There's real chemistry. Because if you are faking during this part, if you do get married or you do get together, you become serious or seriously committed to each other, and you move in or whatever, what's going to happen? Like, you won't be able to fake for very long. You can't stay faking forever. Faking doesn't work, right? Or being or lying or being dishonest, So it's like, if you have feelings for somebody, right? But you got, it's like people get caught up because they haven't closed that other door, or they haven't, whatever the case is, whatever it is, and then they have a hard time like expressing themselves or whatever. Or if you have had, like I said, serious issues, traumas, or abandonment issues, or all this kind of thing, it's almost like, I love you, I don't want you to go anywhere, I'm afraid that you're going to leave me, so I don't want to show you that I really do care, and I'm going to put up this front and be like, well, we're not in a relationship, or I don't really care about you anyway, or you don't really mean anything to me, so I'm going to just pretend that I don't care, but I really do have real feelings. It's weird, right? I'm sorry, that's weird. For someone like me, again, this is all very, very, very weird behavior, okay? I just look at this as very weird behavior. Behavior that I can't control, and behavior at this stage in my life, I'm not going to be dealing with this. Like, I'm not going to be trying to sit here and play a puzzle game or jigsaw puzzle to try to figure out my partner's feelings. I'm not doing that. I'm not. And I'm not trying to raise anybody else's son that they didn't, put confidence and love into him the right way. I can't fix that. I'm not God, and I don't have time in my life for that. I don't have any more time. I don't have time in my life for that. Like, all that right there for me is just like, okay, sorry, Charlie, whatever. Somebody else has showed interest, and I'm not going to try to figure out, I got to go over here. That's a normal response, okay? And if the person over here is like, oh my God, I love you, you're so beautiful, whatever, let's go out, let's do this, whatever, and has no problem with sharing their feelings and emotions, and they're like, and honest, and the other person over here is just being honest about everything, like honest, like whatever comes out of their mouth, they're just being honest, kind of like how I am, because I'm, like I said, sometimes I'm brutally honest, but I'm very honest. To me, that just seems like normal. It just seems like normal. It's like, why would I go back to mind games, or manipulation of any type, or wearing a mask, or not being open, or it's like, not telling me you're hungry when I'm trying to offer you some food and give you food or whatever you need, and you're like, no, I'm not, because I don't want you to know my weakness, and I don't want you to know that I actually have a desire and a need for food, for love, for sustenance, for hugging, kisses, and I don't want to look weak. Okay, that's crazy to me, Because to me, what a relationship is for, and I do know that people get in relationships for other reasons. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's whatever. People do things for different reasons, green cards and everything else, and whatever, all these other fake reasons or whatever reasons. Okay, I'm not talking about all that. When you get in a relationship for supposedly love, right? Like, you're not trying to have some purpose or thing, kids or whatever, like, it's not for any of that. Like, you just have an attraction to each other. What is the purpose of that relationship? To foster love, to foster security, and to be able to open up and have a safe space to share your emotions and your feelings, your desires, your goals, and to be able to support each other in that, and whatever that looks like, however that looks, right? That's what being in a relationship looks like. I mean, that's what it means. Like in other words, I can't do that by myself. I need another person. Okay? And me being a woman, I want a man, right? Because a man also is very opposite of me, different from me, right? So that is, a man brings something very different and can offer the same thing to me. No matter what is in his wallet, no matter what, car he's driving or house he has, or, no matter what material things he might have to offer. I mean, especially at this point. Now, I'm not saying that it's not good to have houses, cars, and all that's great, and that's just an added benefit. But no matter what he has, whether he has a big house or a little house, a little car, a big car, a great job, or a high paying job or a low paying job, or whatever, none of that matters, right? If he's going to be masking his feelings, his emotions, if he's going to be inconsistent or not show his true feelings, if he's going to be holding back, if he's going to be scared all the time, timid, he can't say his real things, he can't say what he really wants, he can't express to me his love for me or whatever. I mean, none of that has anything to do with, it's like, what is somebody like me supposed to do? It's like, I can only deal with that for so long, right? And before I just feel like, this person is either A, a player, or B, he doesn't really like me like that or whatever, and I just look at it as, okay, he's gonna go over there in the friend zone. What what do? We put him in friend zone, because that's what a friend is. A friend can be that. A friend is somebody who, it's like they're a friend. You're not gonna get into an intimate relationship with them, right? They're a friend. I mean, you can have true friends, of course, and be, show your real feelings and everything, but in general, they're just an acquaintance or something. Like, okay, I'm not going to break down and show my heart, or be, overly exposed, or, have any hopes, or try to build any hopes or dreams or a foundation with some acquaintance. Okay? That doesn't make sense, right? So if your goal is trying to build a strong relationship, especially when I say at this age, meaning, like, let's just say you are already divorced or whatever, right? And so, so you're at a stage in your life where you're not necessarily trying to have any babies, because I'm not trying to pop out any babies, right? I don't mind kids, right? I don't mind grandbabies, step grandbabies, or whatever, aunties. I don't mind children or whatever. But I'm saying, if the goal in the relationship at this point is nothing but absolute love, attention, feelings, shared experiences, positive experiences, creating good memories, maybe building a business together, or having a business together, or, whatever, like things like that, right? If that's where you're at in your life or whatever, even if not, even when you're young, it's always a good practice to be honest and open about whatever it is that you're feeling. If you're feeling triggered, or you're feeling insecure, or you're feeling unloved, or you're feeling unsure about that person or whatever, if you're feeling like whatever that is, I'm not getting enough, whatever your love language is. If your love language is touch, I'm not getting touched enough. If your love language is gifts or whatever, I'm not getting enough gifts. If your love language is positive words of affirmation, okay, and you feel like your partner is just, always giving you negative words or something like that, like whatever that is, whatever you're not getting enough of, right? It's up to you to actually express that truth to the other person. If the other person doesn't look at that as a green light, or, like, okay, I need to change that because I love you. Because I love you and I want you to feel loved. So what I'm doing is not working, obviously, because you're telling me this. So let me respect that and change some things, right? I'll change how I express, or maybe, You know, because I remember like 1 week, it was the 1 week before my late husband passed. I remember we decided, we made a pact with each other that every time we thought I love you in our mind, like every time we thought about I love you, like saying I love you, or we were just thinking like I love you, like maybe just watching them, like he was watching me do dishes or whatever, or I'm watching him, you know, get the kids ready or something like that, right? Anytime we thought about it, we said we said for 1 whole week, we would just say it out loud. We would just blurt it out, right? Every time it came to our mind. Okay, we would just say, I love you. It was just a cute thing that we did. It was really cute. And the thing about it was so crazy. We said, I love you like, it was like we were saying, I love you like 15 times an hour. It was really cute. It was just so cute because it really showed, and we weren't being facetious. It really was the fact that we were actually thinking it, so much more than actually saying it, right? Because you know, in one sense, you're like, okay, you don't want to be excessive, right? But it was a cute little experiment to show that we actually were both thinking to each other, like, oh, I really love you. Oh, I love you. Thank you for doing that. I love you. And it's very sweet. See, some people view things like that as like, I'm going to give the other person too much power. Okay, what power, really, in the end, what power are you giving that other person? I mean, really and truly, what power? Okay, if that means you don't trust. What you're saying essentially is that you don't trust me or whoever it is with your feelings. And if you don't, then why are you even considering giving them to me? Like, find somebody else then, right? Because to me, it's like, if you don't trust that person for whatever reason, whether it be for a good reason or a bad reason, right? If they've actually broken the trust, then you need to deal with that and move on. Or if they haven't done anything at all, then you know then the reason is on the inside. Then the problem comes from within. You have a lack of trust. You are an avoidant. You don't know how to use your words. Like I would tell the kids, you don't know how to use your words, okay, properly to express or say what you're trying to say, right? And you can't get them out, okay? So in that case, the issue is still within. And I encourage you to go within and to try to get to, at what point, usually in your childhood, did you get your light stamped out? Meaning, at some point in your childhood, you probably learned, like, whenever I ask mommy for a hug, she's always too busy for me, and I just stopped. Or if something traumatic happened, you know, which was traumatic to you, it may not have been actually traumatic, but for you, you took it personal or whatever, and you decided at that point to shut your feelings and emotions off because you were not going to get your needs met anyway. So you might as well keep them to yourself. Okay? What I just described, for however that went down for you in your childhood, that creates an avoidant attachment style. And it's actually very unhealthy. It's not your fault if that happened to you. It's not your fault. You were doing what was natural. It's like, okay, anybody does that. When you see that a person won't actually meet your needs, you're going to stop going to them to meet your needs, right? But not trusting others to be able to meet your needs when you express them, okay, and throwing out all kinds of mixed signals of different things, now becomes a problem for yourself big time. Because you're creating chaos in relationships. You're creating lots of chaos in all your different relationships. Even shutting down and going quiet and silent for weeks or days or whatever, if you're in a relationship with somebody or you are married or whatever, okay, that person during that time that you might be going silent, you know, in your cave, in your hermit cave, okay, is that point where that person is left open and they're not getting their needs met either, right? And you are risk losing the person that you love or that you want this relationship with. You're risk losing them to somebody else because you have shut down for something, who knows what. Now, I'm not talking about when you've had something serious like a death in the family or something like that, where you are going to obviously be kind of quiet, you know, or to yourself. You know, you're going to be working through emotions and things like that. I mean, and that's obvious, right? And I'm not talking about for things like that. I'm talking about sincere, just what I consider to be obvious, like all kinds of mixed signals. Okay, if you're showing that, if you're doing that kind of thing, if you're giving off mixed signals, right? It's nobody's fault but your own. Okay, because at some point, what's going to happen is playing games, trying to get somebody to chase you, or kicking out kind of like feelings of you know, inconsistencies, or holding back, or not saying what's really on your mind, or whatever, right? All of those things that are a little bit less obvious, but they're still controlling. What doing those are going to do, if you don't learn from your relationships, right, you're going to carry that same behavior into the next one, and into the next one, and into the next one. And what's going to happen is it's going to cause chaos and havoc in your relationship. And it's going to, and who knows, and each person is going to respond differently, okay? If they are securely attached, they're going to be like me and be like, okay, this guy's crazy. He don't know what he wants or whatever. He's friend zone. I'm leaving my options open because, you know, I'm open to new love experiences or finding somebody new, because this one over here, he don't know what he don't know what he wants or whatever. I don't know. I can't read him. I can't figure out. Most women or most people are not as reflective as me, to be honest. If you love the human experience and you enjoy the human psyche and even delving into that some, and I say this has been, for me, like I said, because of my mother and how I was raised, and her introducing me to psychology and different things of the human experience very young in life, for me, it is easier. And I might stay in that turmoil state with you for a minute, okay? But it depends on how much I feel like that there's genuine love there or whatever, right? But for the most part, even me, I'm going to be like, okay, friend zone or whatever, or I'm just going to keep thinking in my mind, like, this guy don't know what he wants anyway, so my options are open. And in the end, you will notice that you will have repeated situations or repeated behaviors and situations or repeated failed type of like relationships or whatever, right? Because you haven't stopped to actually reflect and change what you did in the last one that didn't work. So if going silent and being quiet, or not sharing your real feelings and emotions, or not spending enough time, let's say with wife number one, okay, and she expressed the whole time that she needed you more, or she needed more support from you, she wanted more love from you, she wanted more whatever, yada, 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 yada. And then in your next relationship, wife number two, you do the same thing. Okay, but I know it's a two-way street, but you're over here still hiding your feelings and emotions because you don't want to give that person any power over you, right? And then what happens? It's built on dishonesty. It's dishonesty. It's going to fail. So when wife number three comes along, and let's hope you haven't had 5 wives, because if you're a person who has had 5 wives, like let's just think about that. If you've had 5 opportunities with 5 decent women, and I do know some people like this, and they've all had to hightail it out of your space for some reason, or get out of the way, or leave you for whatever reason. Oh, it's time to do a serious sit down, come to Jesus moment and work on your issues, okay? Because there is no way that all 5 of your women are mentally unstable. There's a common denominator with all 5 of these women, especially if any of these women have ever had long-term relationships. The common denominator would be the other that person, you, the other person. Okay, I'm just putting that out there because I definitely have known men who have been married 2 and 3 times. Okay, but you know, hey, whatever, to each his own. But at some point, if you actually stop to actually reflect and ask yourself, you know, oh, you know what, I wasn't honest, or you know, and whatever that is. Oh, you know what? The first time I got married, I was young, and I married because I got this girl pregnant, and I didn't really look at her attributes as a woman. I really didn't know. I was very immature, and I was lacking knowledge. I didn't pray about the situation. I didn't pray for God to send me somebody. It was just basically who I knocked up. And I thought, you know, I wanted to please my mother, my father. I wanted to please her mother, her father. I wanted to please the community. I wanted everybody to pretend, you know, to think that we had this happy family and that we were just, you know, whatever. And so I was just doing what I thought was required of me. And that turned out to be a very disastrous situation because the person I married is actually psychopath and very controlling. And she has issues, right? And it's like, oh, you know, so then the second time, what are you going to do? You're going to attract another psychopath? You're going to attract another controlling, crazy person who's wearing a mask or who is hiding secret rendezvous or hiding things, you know, with other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if you don't change whatever you did to to deal with that, or if you don't be honest about why you were with that person or whatever to fix it, like, okay, next time I'm not going to get married because of obligation. I'm not going to get married for people pleasing or for feeling pushed into it or whatever, or I'm not going to get, you know, whatever into the situation for XYZ reason, because all those reasons were actually not solid foundations, right? Or I didn't share or express to that other person, I really am only going to get married to you because, you know, this is what everybody want me to do, and I was promised $10,000 if I stay married to you for 10 years, so let me go ahead and just do this because, you know, I guess is the right thing to do, or something like that, you know. Because if anybody actually said to their partner, you know, if they were actually honest, you know, like, really, I don't want to marry you, I really don't even like you like that or whatever, but I should have never knocked you up, and it is what it is now, and but my attention is still over here with ABC women over here, and this XYZ woman over here, and actually my heart is over here with this one over here, or my mind is somewhere completely elsewhere, checked out or whatever, because, you know, you no longer keep my attention, or what. That is so crazy. That's called wearing a mask. That is called wearing a mask, you know. I mean, it's like, I'm just gonna let you be with me, live in my house, because I know you really need a green card, and, you know, I don't want you to get deported, and you do have my child, so because of that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just deal with the situation, and, you know, any other woman that I might find who I really do love or whatever, I'm going to cause all kind of confusion, chaos, and shuffle my feet, and send mixed signals and everything, and try to slow her down or whatever, while I try to figure out what in the world I'm going to do with you, because, you know, you're not even a U.S. citizen. That's called having a door open, you know, behind you while trying to open the door in front of you. Okay? And all of that behavior is built on a dishonest rock mask. It's built on wearing a mask of some sort, right? And it's not going to work. Nothing will come to fruition in your life when it comes to receiving love and joy and blessings from God above, right? Because you're not being honest. Okay? So when you're honest, the thing about that is that you don't build up karma, okay? And I put that in quotation marks because people use that word. But you reap what you sow is what that means. The Bible says you reap what you sow. So in other words, if you are sowing dishonesty, if you are sowing inconsistency with this person, or if you are sowing, disloyalty, or being a player, whatever you are sowing is what you will get. That's what you get. So if you are sowing dishonesty, you will get dishonest women, situations, relationships. You will get the dishonesty back. That's what you get. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes things just happen, right? But, like, for example, with me, right? If I know, once I feel like, or I realize that this is what I'm dealing with or whatever, I'm done. I'm out. You can't tell me nothing. Like, I'm out. For me, it's not about, you can't go and get, you know, brother XYZ, elder XYZ, mosque XYZ, this clergyman, or this person over here, or this mother, or this sister, you know, or my mother, or, you know, trying to call everybody to try to reinforcement to make me stay in a lie. Because I won't. I can literally be, for me personally, peace. Peace is so important to me. Peace. My peace. I can let go of even having romantic love as long as I have my peace. Having my peace is way more important to me than having romantic love. And I can go have my peace all by myself anywhere. Okay? Look, because I am what they call a stable attachment, like I have had a basically stable childhood, meaning while things were not perfect or whatever, I didn't have any serious traumatic things. Now, I had some things that happened that were traumatic or whatever, but they were outside of my family unit. They were not with the people that I developed strong, serious love bond relationships with, okay? So I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that my family didn't have any issues or whatever, but my basic needs as a child, as a person, whatever, was fulfilled. You know, my love tank and my attention tank got fulfilled by my mom. Even still to this day, entertains my my long conversations and stories. Okay, and she's used to that, you know, but she was always that way, right? You know, so in other words, I got that as a child. So the point is that I'm not over here trying to like fulfill these other types of needs or other things or whatever through other relationships, or acting out, right? I'm just literally here like I'm a flower who's bloomed and I'm ready to, be picked and put into a vase and set in somebody's house because I'm ready to just be, a beautiful flower for you. Like, in other words, I'm just a loving person and I'm just, here to show love. If you show up in my life and, you make it obvious to me that you want love and attention and everything, and there's an attraction there, like I'm attracted to you and you're attracted to me. All right. There's like a real attraction. And I feel like we have a real, genuine interest that are together. And we have some things that, some goals or whatever, right? Like all of those things, right? To me, it's like, okay, great. That means we love each other. And then for me, what I do as an attractive woman, right? I close down all other options that are going around, that are circling around me, sending me text messages, DMs, or calling me. All of them get closed down. Why? Because my attention is now only on the one that I want to love, or that he wants to love me, or whatever, and that we've decided to have a commitment. Okay? But until that is openly, honestly discussed and worked out, right? And we are at that point, options are open. So they might be floating around. But I don't have no mask. I am just who I am. What you see is what you get. And I'm hoping that what you see is either you like it or you don't. And I'm just hoping you're honest enough to tell me that. Because if you don't, great. Bye. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, I got plenty of things to do. And we all got plenty of things to do. We can all just kind of like move on if we're just honest with, okay, you know what? I like you, but I don't. Or, I mean, I like you as a friend, but I don't really like you as a romantic partner. Okay? And that way people know how to respond and react and move. Okay? And especially if that, let's say, and so someone like me, as I'm in some sort of relationship, or as I feel like I'm entering, or we're talking or whatever, and I start, if I notice things or whatever, I'm very vocal. I'm very vocal. So when I say things like, gosh, I haven't heard from you in a week or so, what's going on? Is everything okay? Okay, that's not normal to me. Or are you out of your hermit or out of your cave? Or, if I express things like, not talking to me for a week, 3 weeks, a month, or whatever, if I say these things and like that, if I say that's part of my love language, and that means you're not giving me love, right? Okay, that means I'm not looking to you for love. I'm open somewhere else. Because I can only ask so many times before I realize, like, some people just don't want to communicate to the level that I may want to communicate. And that is okay. That's A-okay. I'm not going to try to control the situation or try to control the outcome or try to change who that person is fundamentally. Whoever they really are is what they're showing me to be. And for me, if I know I need more communication, more love, more touching, more hugging, more kissing, or whatever, then I know I got to move on to where there's a level of mutual love and respect or whatever, where it seems like it's a mutual thing, right? That just seems normal to me. I feel like that's normal thinking. But again, like I said, when you're dealing with an avoidantly attached style person, things get haywired and signals get crossed and stuff. And I realize that even things like, starting from even a very young age, if you think you can manipulate outcomes, people, women, relationships, or whatever, right? You're going to have a hard life, meaning you're going to be disappointed quite a bit. Because if your goal is to change people's outcomes, like change how they, show up in life, and I can't change. I can only encourage based on the feedback that I get and encourage you to be whatever, right? Okay, I can only be an encouraging person to you, but I can't control how you actually decide to show up and how you decide to be, or what decision you decide to make. It's like, for example, when your kids magically turn 18 or suddenly turn 18 and they think they're grown and they want to move out, and you and I know, we all know, okay, really, it's like it's like a vacation right now if you're over 18 and you get to be at your parents' house and not pay no rent. I mean, there's too many advantages to being at home, right? And saving your money or whatever, right? But if they want to see things their way and they just want to be able to do whatever they want to do because they don't like the house rules or whatever, okay, me as a mom, right? I can't change that. Like, I can't try to enforce my son to stay with me because he wants to go and do XYZ or whatever, right? Because I already said XYZ ain't going to fly in my house. So as long as you're here, you got to do this, this, and this. But, you know, you don't have to pay the rent or whatever. But you know what? After they turn 18 and they actually can do whatever they want, I can't try to control this outcome. All I can do is encourage you. Look, son, let's do the pros and cons. The pros to you moving out are this, and the cons to you moving out are this. And the consequences, like what could potentially happen, the pitfalls or whatever, right? Now, here's all the information that you got to make the best decision for you, because now especially at this age, I can't do it for you. I'm not responsible anymore, right? Because you're now 18. So that's all you can do is learn to be open with your feelings and emotions, whatever they are. Like, I'm falling deep in love with you. I think you're so beautiful. I want to be with you. I want to spend more time with you. I enjoy your company. Or, I don't like how much you talk. You talk too much. Or, I don't like the way you look. Like, you look crazy to me. I don't like light-skinned women. I like dark-skinned women. Okay? Hey, I get that. I get it, because we tend to like our opposite. I like dark-skinned men. Okay? I either like that, or I like what I call gingers. If I'm gonna do white, I like white. That's gingers, like red. You know, that very rough and rugged kind of. Anyway, the point is, you know what I'm trying to say. Everybody's entitled to what they like. And when you're dealing with a healed individual, or somebody who is healed, or somebody who is not dysfunctional or toxic, they're not going to take what you say as an attack. A person who is unhealed or very dysfunctional or very toxic takes everything that you say as a personal attack. Someone who is just not that way, they don't take things like that as attacks. We just take it as, oh, that's how you feel? We just look at that as information to process in our brain. It's like, okay, you don't like, green Kool-Aid. You like the red one. Okay. That's what makes you special and unique. That's what makes you who you are. And guess what? I'm here to respect that. I'm here to love that about you. I'm here to make sure that you have, red Kool-Aid, all the time in overflow. Because me as a woman, especially me trying to be, the woman of Proverbs, okay, the capable wife, I'm over here like, let me make sure he is overflowing in all of his favorite things, right? As long as he's doing that for me too. As long as we're doing that for each other and we're both trying to give to each other in the ways that speak love to each other, I mean, that's what a relationship is about. Anything else, all that other stuff, manipulations and hiding and faking and I want to call, but I'm not sure if I should call. I think I should call. Oh, what if she looks at me as weak? Oh, I don't want to show my real emotions. Or, oh, you know what? You don't pick up that phone call to call and tell me something like that. I've already met somebody else. Because to be honest with you, I think yesterday alone, I probably had about 6 different men try to hit on me. At least 6. That don't mean that I got all their phone numbers. That don't mean I'm actually talking to them. That don't mean that I actually did anything with them. Whatever. But I definitely get attention, right? So the fact is that for me, I'm not the kind of person that, like, again, I don't even desire attention from multiple men. I don't even desire that. It's just part of my human experience, okay, since I was young. And that's just the truth of the matter. So I already know how to deal with this. This is not anything new for me. It's the other person that I might be dealing with, who I might be dating or talking to, who may or may not be okay with that, depending on his confidence level. He may or may not like the fact that I am attractive. He might be attracted to me, but he might be thinking, nope, she's too attractive. I won't be able to keep her. Okay, why are you thinking that? How do you know? It's kind of like, remember the movie Hitch with Allegra and the white guy, I forget his name? And he was kind of like dopey and corny and all that stuff. And what was Allegra? Allegra was impressed by all the little corny, dumb, dopey things. Why was she? He didn't know. Like, he didn't know. He was just being himself. When he decided to be himself is when she fell in love. Right? Because it just so happened to be exactly what she liked. But you just never know. So what is on the outside of a person doesn't necessarily reflect, like, you can't tell. Like, in other words, what's on the outside of me, sometimes people will say, oh, I thought you were, high maintenance. Or I thought you were the type that, wouldn't like my car if it wasn't a sports car or a high-end car or whatever. First of all, with Travis, my late husband, I mean, his first car he called it the Brown Bomber. It was an old beat up Jetta and Volkswagen. I don't care. Anyway, it didn't matter. Like, if you're dealing with a real woman, someone who's a real hit, I don't care what kind of car your Prince Charming comes in, right? Like, okay, it's all great and nice if you can have someone who is like stable, whatever. But like, to me, again, for me, because of the experiences that I've had, okay, I won't judge anybody if they have money or they have stuff. But I am going to be now on guard for, are you going to use the stuff that you have as a means to control me? Because now I've experienced that a couple times, right? And I don't play that. I don't play that. You can have all your stuff back. Bye. Bye, Felicia. Okay? So, you know, I won't let it stop me from being with somebody, but it has now given me more stimuli, more information, and now I know some things what to look for when it comes to that. Okay? But it's like, you know, people say just be you, boo, or whatever, because if you're not, or whatever, you over here, you can't keep up that lie after you secure, if you do secure the woman, and you get to actually have her, or whatever, you get married to her, whatever, you can't keep up that lie. It's like people who you hear about who are on a DL, right? And they want to marry somebody because they just want it to look good to everybody else, but they really secretly want the same sex. Okay, until what? They can only do it for so long in that marriage or whatever before they start to self-destruct, because you can't fake forever. You cannot do that. You can't. You can't wear a mask forever. At some point, you have to be willing to show your true self and find somebody who appreciates, loves, and values and celebrates whoever you really are, your true colors, who you truly are. Okay? Anyway, that's it. I got to head out of here. I got stuff to do. I'm heading out tonight. So bye.